The preseason game is upon us, and against the Carolina Panthers, I think that there are 7 players that we need to be watching with an eagle eye. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be talking about the 7 players that the New York Jets need to be paying very close attention to, and as a fan base, we should also be paying very close attention to when it comes down to a preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. But before we get into that, guys, if you haven't followed me on X, formerly known as Twitter, go into the link in the description and hit the follow button there. I'm going to be doing a lot more content and giveaways that's going to be done exclusively on Twitter. So if you want to be a part of those things and you want to get a chance to win some free stuff, go ahead and hit that follow button. Lots of cool things coming on Twitter. But that out of the way, let's talk about the 7 players. Firstly, let me mention that there are some players that, of course we're going to be watching that aren't going to be on this list. So, Zach Wilson's not on this list because, everybody's going to be watching the quarterback. And how Zach Wilson plays doesn't necessarily affect the bigger picture of the New York Jets. I want him to do well. I want him to continue taking steps. But whether or not he has a good or a bad game against the Carolina Panthers isn't going to affect that he's QB2. So, of course we're watching him, but that doesn't really change anything. The same thing kind of goes with, Jermaine Johnson and Joe Tippmann and Will McDonald. Of course we're going to be watching the 2 rookies and Jermaine Johnson light it up. But I don't think that their performances is going to change the plan for them. Will McDonald was drafted because of his explosiveness and his speed and the amount of stunts that the New York Jets use. His utilization is only going to go up because he's so good at those things. Jermaine Johnson absolutely dominates and is probably going to be defensive end 1 or 2 sooner rather than later. And Joe Tippmann is probably going to be a starting center sooner rather than later. Those things are all on track. But these 7 players have big impacts to the Jets' futures moving forward, and this year in particular. So let's start with the first 2 players. 2 offensive tackles, probably going to be the starting offensive tackles for the Carolina Panthers game, and that's 1, left tackle Mekhi Becton, and 2, offensive tackle, right tackle Max Mitchell. Obviously, we need to see a ton more snaps from Mekhi Becton. He can't just play 7 snaps and leave the game like we saw before. I want to see him go as long as Zach Wilson goes. They should be connected at the hip. When Zach Wilson comes out, Mekhi Becton comes out. And if that means that they play a full half, they play a full half. But we need to see a ton more reps from Mekhi Becton. We know that he's going to dominate those reps. That's fine. The question isn't about ability. It's about availability. It's about how many reps can he truly play. Mekhi Becton right now seems to be the linchpin of making this offense work. And right now, we can't trust him to play a full 17 games, let alone play a full game. So showing that he can play longer stretches of time and really complete a whole, a significant amount of game reps and then complete a whole practice, I think that's a significant boost in his stock for the New York Jets and helps the offensive tackle situation. The second option, or the second player that needs to be focused, is obviously Max Mitchell. As you guys know who have been subscribed to this channel for a long time, I am a huge Max Mitchell guy. I love the potential that this kid has, but after a really shaky Hall of Fame game, we're looking to have Max Mitchell step up and take the job. I heard some concerning things from Zach Rosenblatt, which we'll be talking about in a video later today, so stay tuned and hit the subscribe button if you want to see that content. But it seems like Max Mitchell is on the outside looking in terms of the right tackle job. And this game is going to do a lot of good things if he can play well. And that's what we're hoping for. Right now, the battle for the offensive tackle spot opposite of Dwayne Brown seems to be thoroughly entrenched between Billy Turner and Max Mitchell. You hope to throw Mekhi Becton's name in there once he starts getting reps with the ones, but we'll see what happens as time goes on. You're hoping to see a really good game, a solid game from Max Mitchell so that he can really push for that starting job at the right tackle position. The next we're going to move over behind the line of scrimmage is going to be Israel Abanikanda. Now, Bam Knight has been having one of the better camps in terms of the running back room, and Michael Carter seems to be the favorite third down weapon for this offense. But Israel Abanikanda is the guy that I am most interested in because his skill set is the one that really has the ability outside of Breece Hall to break open any play at any given moment. You know, if he can see the open field, if you can pull a guard in front of him, he has true 4.3 speed and can break open any play and take it to the house. Now, one of the things that we all knew about Israel Abanikanda was that he was a raw prospect coming in. He only knew really how to do one cut and run up field kinds of things. And while the New York Jets absolutely run a wide zone scheme that will take advantage of that skill set, we also run a ton of counters, powers, and pin and pull type of runs that help create space for the running back in a different way. So him developing his vision and seeing him creating yardage on his own is going to be a big thing that we're going to need to be watching moving forward. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball for the rest of this list, one of the players that I'm going to be very excited to watch, and there's not going to be anything else that we can do but watch because this guy is always around the ball, is safety Trey Dean III, the undrafted free agent out of Florida. I have been raving about Trey Dean, and even in the draft process, took Trey Dean a couple of times in the 6th round because I thought he was that intriguing of a prospect. When he went undrafted and the New York Jets brought him in, I saw the Will Parks replacement. I saw the safety hybrid linebacker hybrid that Robert Saleh loves, and that's exactly what he's been. And if he continues to stack excellent practices, which is what he's been doing, continues to stack from the excellent Hall of Fame game, which is what he had, and continues that going, there's going to be a legitimate shot that he is going to be pushing for a roster spot. Right now, it seems like this coaching staff is really in on Ashton Davis, and I'm not a fan of that. Ashton Davis continues to disappoint in practice and in preseason, and if that trend continues, Trey Dean's stock can go up, and I'm really hoping that he can solidify himself as a member of the 53-man roster by continuing and building off of what he did in the Hall of Fame game. Moving on, a player whose stock used to be so high just a couple of years ago, but has absolutely plummeted, is Bryce Hall. I'm really hoping that Bryce Hall can elevate himself and really push Brandon Echols for the job of backup corner. It seems like Brandon Echols has that job locked and loaded, and he absolutely should. I think that he is the third best outside corner for the New York Jets. Not the third best corner, that's Michael Carter II, but he plays in the slot. When it comes to the possibility of losing a Sauce Gardner or a DJ Reed to injury, Brandon Echols is the next man up, and I like that because I really like Brandon Echols as a player. But Bryce Hall used to be a starter on this football team, and we all thought that we didn't need to draft Sauce Gardner, some of us, because of the fact that we signed DJ Reed and we have Bryce Hall. Now, while that was an absolutely incorrect assumption to make, and all of us who had that thought were absolutely crazy, the reality is that Bryce Hall's stock has absolutely plummeted. And while I don't think that he makes the 53-man roster, him performing well and doing good things moving forward is only going to help the New York Jets in the ability to trade him or to build up value for him when he leaves the team at the end of the year and goes to find a contract somewhere else. So I'm going to be watching Bryce Hall to see what can he do in that position. The next player, or this is more a set of players that I really want to watch, are going to be the middle linebackers. And I'm talking about all of, not the middle linebackers, just the linebackers. And I'm not just talking about like Sherwood. I'm talking about all of them. Sherwood, Barnes, Surratt, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. I'm going to have to look it up and I'll bring it up. Give me a second. But all of the linebackers have been having themselves an incredible camp for the New York Jets. And I mean truly all of them. And when they continue, Claudin Cherilus, that's his name. when we continue to see such good production from our backup linebackers, it really makes me feel comfortable in the fact that we didn't go out and sign Quan Alexander, especially knowing what his contract was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But also, CJ Mosley's not getting any younger. Quincy Williams has an out in his contract that we can get out from under relatively soon. And if we can get high-level athletes like Sherwood, like Barnes, like Surratt, like Cherilus to really be the pipeline of this linebacker core for the future, especially when we take into consideration just how good of a linebackers coach Robert Saleh is, it really makes me feel comfortable and, excited about the future of the linebacker room. And the other player that's going to probably get some reps, probably not competing for a roster spot, but is a guy that I'm really interested as a developmental piece for next year and beyond, because I think we'll be able to stash him on the practice squad, is outside linebacker. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. Pita Tumapenu. That's what I'm going to go with. Pita is a edge rusher, a pure pass rusher, a speed rusher. He's a specialist, a la the likes of Bryce Huff, right? He is a third down specialist. And while he doesn't have the skill set to play on first or second down or any clear run stopping situation, he does have a skill set to be a pass rushing specialist. And with Bryce Huff in a position where he's going to play himself out of a contract with the New York Jets, and this is probably the last year that the New York Jets are going to have Bryce Huff on the team, having a guy with a similar skill set who we can stash on the practice squad, who we can hold on to and have develop behind a guy like Bryce Huff and be his replacement next year is really, really exciting. And that's something that I find really, really cool. And I would love to be able to see if the Defensive Player of the Year of the XFL in Pita can translate some of those skills to the NFL after being so dominant in the XFL. Let me know in the comment section below what players you feel like are on their way up and we should be watching in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.